Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to My First Business, the podcast. I'm your host, named Pervez, and I'm a relatively new and sometimes clueless business owner. So I wanted to talk to other entrepreneurs and help guide me, inspire me, and help me understand the best way to grow my own business. So now I know you may be in the same boat. You might want to learn about what mistakes to avoid, how to identify opportunities, and that's why I created the show for you, my dear audience. So if you're thinking of going out on your own, or you're running a new business or an old one, I don't care, I'm not an ageist. I bring on guests from all sorts of industries and they're full of wisdom that you'll chew right up. And each episode is going to be like a conversation with a mentor that you never had. My guest today is Aliya Rajah. Aliya is a personal and professional development coach, corporate trainer, podcast host, entrepreneur, and founder of Coaching with Aliya. She helps people develop the range of skills that they need to maximize their potential. God, I could use that. But that's not how her story starts. After studying biomedical science and then completing a master's in public health in the UK, Aliya quickly climbed the corporate ladder. But as it is for some of you, it wasn't long before she realized that the boxes she was ticking didn't offer the fulfillment or sense of achievement she hoped. Aliya undertook her life coaching and NLP accreditations while remaining on the job and then moving into coaching full-time. She initially focused on working with professional women in London, attracting a strong following at her workshops and group coaching sessions, and then moved to the UAE in 2018 and launched her development masterclass. And just like that, she is now one of the leading coaches in the UAE, working with male and female clients, CEOs, public figures, celebrities, professors, lawyers, anyone. And she has conducted training sessions for ADNOC, the Ministry of Education, the Emirates Foundation, First Abu Dhabi Bank, and Aliya's got her own podcast, The Women Who Flourish. Be sure to check that out. But today we're going to reverse the order. You're not the host. You're the guest. And I'm the host. Welcome, Aliya.
Hi, thank you. Welcome. I'm excited to be here today.
Thanks for coming on. There's so many different ways that we can take this conversation. So I told you before we started recording that it's going to be a roller coaster in some sort, and I wanted to start with something heavy.
Okay.
So let's do the heavy stuff first. And I figure that your personal story would kind of come out through some of these questions, but pricing.
Okay.
So you're in service business, you do coaching, you do corporate training, you do workshops. You're basically charging for your time and your intellectual value, and you have to determine the value for your clients as well. And I'm in a similar kind of industry. A lot of the work that we do is intellectual work, and it's not factory produced widgets that we're working on. So I just wanted to understand your philosophy on pricing today versus when you first started. So what are the differences that you've seen in trying to come up with that magical number, whether it's for individuals or for corporates? Like, what are the building blocks? And I'm giving you that time to think about the different building blocks on a very, let's say, general level that can apply to other service businesses as well, right? Do you come up with the scope of work first, and then do you assign a dollar sign to everything? Is it based on your time? But enough for me. How do you come up with pricing, or 4 years ago versus today?
Gosh, it's I think you just took me back even, asking that question. And I was thinking about, me a few years ago when I was, started doing this for free, initially, because while I was training, you start by just getting those practice clients, not charging anyone and building the confidence to coach. And so doing that initially. And then, so for me, when I started this, I decided straight away that I'm going to get a coach and mentor. I was like, I could spend ages trying to figure this out, or I can kind of fast track my way a bit, by getting some help. Learn from someone, as you said, at the start, learn from someone who's already been there. And that's what I did. So obviously we went through this together, and then it got to a point where he said, right, you need to start, charging for this now, what you do. And I was like, what? Especially, I think, in this line of work for coaches, as coaches, we just want to, a lot of time, just do good, just help people, just help. And then it's like, if I'm to put a price on that, that makes me a bad person. How can I do that? That feels wrong. I should just be helping and giving. It feels wrong to then it feels like I'm wanting to take from them. So, I had to do a lot of money mindset work around that. I think it really starts with that, is understanding that it's energy exchange as well. You're providing a service, you're providing a lot of value, and understanding that the energy exchange, with that is, financials. It's getting paid and it's money. So I had to do a lot of kind of work on myself in that regard initially to start. And it was just kind of with small packages, something I felt comfortable with. I think it's always good to start with something you're comfortable with. Because
what was the first price that you remember?
Oh, it was literally like, I mean, if I talk in pounds,
sure.
So it was about like £40 a session, something like that. But I didn't do it per session. I did it per like 6 sessions. So it was kind of around like £250 for like 6 sessions. So that was my kind of initial, package back then. And so, that was what obviously it was scary to charge that. But I was like, it's not too scary that, I can't, but it's enough for me to say, okay. So it kind of started from then. And then I think really it just for you, as you start to grow your confidence. And by the way, I'll be honest here, I'll tell you the story actually. I did 4 sessions with someone and 3 sessions. And then it got to the point where he said, right, okay, we've done 4 sessions now, the 3 sessions. Now I'm going to tell her if she wants to continue, she's going to charge, this is the amount. So did the 4th session. And then I said, right, if you want to continue, as you knew, it was 4 and this is the option. And it was that kind of, oh, thanks. But actually,
Ouch.
don't know if I'm going to continue right now or like, yeah, it's great. Oh, can I come back to you? All that kind of stuff. And I was really I'll be honest, I cried. I was like, I was ready for this. And I was like, it's okay. And I was like, let me learn how to do this. Let me learn. Because at the end of the day, it's all about, and this isn't about manipulation, by the way, because I think there is that kind of line where people can think when you say you want to learn, it's not about that, but it's about the way you deliver the message of, hey, this is the service. If this is the price point, et cetera, et cetera. So, for me, it was just a matter of, obviously, as I've kind of built, the services, the different clients I work with, and just knowing the value. I think, obviously, the value that I offer in the coaching only goes up. I mean, I've invested thousands in my own mentoring, my own coaching, courses, workshops. And so that's what I bring to the coaching. It's not like an hour session. It's like hours and hours and thousands of pounds that I've invested in myself and the content and the knowledge to be able to deliver that. So I think as that increases, that then is reflected in, your price point.
Yeah. So when you're coming up with your proposals or packages or programs, and you're defining what you will do and what they will get, do you think about pricing things individually or as a whole? And does the price change depending on who you're talking to, or is it the same?
So I have set prices. So I have a set coaching package. It's either like 2 different weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and it's a set price. So, I don't do the whole like one-off coaching or one-off sessions unless it's like, look, I've got a presentation or I've got an interview coming up. But on the whole, my kind of way is about taking people on a journey. And so the best way to do that is to work with them over a period of time. And I think it comes with that level of commitment as well. I want people who are committed, not like, let me just try this and, if it doesn't, whatever. But of course, I offer a complimentary discovery call. And sometimes that's up to an hour with the person. And so we really kind of delve deep and see if we're a right fit. And then based on that, so they pick the 2. But no, it's the 2 set, that I have. And of course, my workshops and then my trainings, they're all set prices that I have and that, again, have felt comfortable, over time and that feel right.
How did they become set? I'm guessing a bit of experimentation happened. Did you try really odd numbers? Did you try going more than you ever think you would ask for and then come back down? Was there a process to get to something that's a bit more set in stone?
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago I did do that and I knew it was a jump. I knew it was a big jump. But I tried it and it didn't feel quite right, or, it was reflected in the way I delivered it. And I thought, actually, let me come down and do something that feels more comfortable for me to then be able to say. But
about experimenting with prices, I'll give you a bit of context of why I asked this as well, right? So I've been in sales for my entire career. So as a new grad with a degree in finance, the only job I was able to get was one that required cold calling 40 times a day. 5 days a week, 30 days a month, or whatever it is, and hit my targets. And it was insane because no one teaches you, pricing, negotiation not as manipulation, but as negotiation, as energy exchange. And I'll ask you about energy exchange in a bit as well. And I brought that kind of mindset into the business where Alina and I, when we work together on pricing, because she doesn't have that sales background and she has that help attitude, I just want to help out, I want to help small businesses, there's always been a reluctance in either moving that level up. And then we talk to other agencies that do what we do, but charge 3 times more, 4 times more. They might be less experienced than us too, but they do it with such confidence. And so we're always kind of finding different ways to experiment with pricing. First thing that you said is something that we're trying to do is like something that we've done is set the scope of work. This is what I do. I don't do any more bespoke stuff, because that's interferes with your pricing strategy. Every time you try to do something bespoke or a one-off kind of thing, you have to redo the whole thing. Okay, it's going to take me this much effort. It's over 6 weeks, and now it's not going to continue. Is it going to continue? So from that perspective, what kind of experiments of these price points, and how often do you, let's ask this, how often do you check in with yourself? Am I charging what I'm worth? Does that happen throughout your journey?
Yeah. So I think as you mentioned, like, you have to learn how to sell, right? And what I realized early on is that, the coaching is only one part of this, and then the business side is very different. Like, they're 2 different hats. And so I had to learn the skill and the art of selling. And so this is where my mentoring came in. So when I was still in London, I would have a sales coach. Actually, when I moved here as well, he's in the UK, but I'd go back and forth. And I had a sales coach and mentor that I worked with, and we did a lot of this. And then my mentors following on from that, and it was like, what feels comfortable? And I would have to be coached around that as well, and coached into what is it that you're offering. So we talk about the transformation that I take my clients on, and that's what you've got to think about. It's not just a session. If you think about it, that you're really devaluing what it is that you offer. But, they go from being someone who is like, they shy away from opportunities. They don't speak up. They lack confidence in themselves. They're not looking after themselves, their fitness, their health, well-being. And then suddenly they're getting themselves out there. They're being active. They're speaking up at work. They're presenting, getting promoted, starting businesses. I mean, there's ROI there as well for them. But like, all of these things, like, you can't put a price point on that, right? So it's looking at the transformation and being like, what is the value in that?
Yeah. It's not as the fitness industry has it nice, right? They can do a before and after picture and put a tag on this. Like, this is you with a big round belly. This is you with 6-pack abs. And here's how much it will cost to get there. And it's so clean and clear. Yeah. We're lucky that in our business that we do have measurable ROI. So when we do our work for our clients, we run an advertising agency. And every time we run ads, we can directly know which ad gave us how much revenue for that client. So we can do the math and be like, okay, we contributed X amount to yours. But the point I'm taking away from this is, especially for Alina. So Alina and I listen to these podcasts like off around our work hours to kind of learn and improve. And she's never had sales training, but she's such a natural. But at the same time, the confidence to be able to charge your worth is something that, she knows that she needs to work on as well. So maybe I can recommend that as working with some sort of a sales coach to kind of charge what you're worth, because a lot of people are worth a lot more than they ask for. Right?
Yeah.
And I work with some people sometimes and I just look at them and like, wait, that's it? That's all you're going to charge me for everything that you're giving me?
Yeah.
And they're quite happy to take it.
Yeah.
As well. So,
I mean, to add to that, I've been in that situation as well, and I personally haven't valued it, and I've actually not gone to certain masterminds or groups because I felt it was too cheap, and I didn't think that it would be good. So for me, like, again, it's that perception of, if something you feel is underpriced or you think it's not worth a lot, you don't think it's going to be good. And yes, of course, a higher price doesn't always mean it's going to be good, better, but that perception is there. I've personally found that on my journey as well, as I've gone through the past few years, when you charge less, people want to negotiate more. They want to try and bring down the price. They want more of your time and this and that. But as it increases and your your value increases and your worth increases within yourself, you start to attract clients who it's just a lot more effortless. It just flows more, a lot better relationships as well.
Are you reading my notes? Because that's my segue. My next
I can't
question.
read upside down.
My next question was going to be about ideal versus non-ideal clients. Are you better now than you were at the start of your journey in figuring out what that means and drawing the lines for yourself?
Yeah, I would say like I'm so grateful. Like I work with my ideal clients. Like they're just amazing. They're incredible. And they're just people. I think it's again like how the sort of message that you put out there. And I think I'm quite clear in who I want to work with. And I think even early on as well, you've got to, and I know it's hard because when you're at the stage where you're like, I need clients, I need clients, I need money. You just want to work with everyone. And that doesn't always bring, the best outcomes. So even early on, you've got to decide who you want to work with. And again, I know it's hard when you're like starting out, but I've always been quite clear. And I think that's just kind of grown and evolved over the years now. And I think it is really, especially as one-on-one, I work one-on-one just with women. And it's, women who are, they're ambitious and they're committed and they're goal-orientated and they want to put in the effort and work. Because, I was talking to someone about this yesterday, when it comes to my work with helping people with confidence, you can say everyone needs to work on their confidence with something. Everyone can say, I need confidence, or most people, but how many people want it? There's a difference. Just because someone needs it doesn't mean they want it. So for me, I've always been about, I'm not trying to help everyone. I'm not. I'm trying to just work with the people who are like, yes, I want this. I see the value in this. I want to work with you. Let's do it. And that's energizing for me. I don't want to drag someone or pull them, or I'm not going to convince anyone that they need to work with me or do this. You're either in, you see it, or you don't,
Yeah. So when you're doing that discovery call that you do to see if someone's going to be a good fit, I mean, both ways, they're also trying to see if you're a good fit for them. Let's skip the non-ideal people, because I guess we can all kind of feel the red flags, and it's kind of productive to talk something so negative. But maybe shed some light on, you said you can tell when people are willing to put in the effort. What is that? How do you suss that out? Do you have kind of fixed questions in there? Are you just checking the energy? Are you checking the flow of the conversation in that discovery call? Is it about their background? Is it about how they behave? What are your key boxes that need to be checked? And how do you address that with them? Like, how do you bring it out of them directly or indirectly?
Yes, it's a kind of mix of all of those. So it's really the kind of space for, it's kind of like, okay, what's going on, what made you want to have this call today? And I actually take them through an exercise. So initially we just kind of talk, and usually they say, I want to be more confident at work, for example. I really need to, or my boss has told me that I need to work on my confidence, or I want to be a better public speaker. And that's the kind of the first thing. But the reason why I call myself a personal and professional development coach is because, our personal and professional lives are very much interlinked, So if we have things that are off in our personal life, it's going to affect our professional and vice versa. So I actually take them through an exercise where we kind of look at their life as a whole. And we say, okay, what are the other areas of your life looking like right now? Your health, your fitness, your motivation, your stress, all these things. And then through there, they see, actually, I want to work on these areas. I've been neglecting these areas. I need to prioritize these areas. And so we kind of delve into that conversation a bit more. And they're like, actually, I want to work on this as well. And it's about getting started with 3 key areas. So I say, right, if we're going to start with 3, which are the 3 that you want to start working on? And that's where we start. But then I kind of talk them through the process, and I let them know early on that this is going to require you to put in the work. This is not you coming to sessions and having a chat and then being like, bye. And whatever you put into this is what you're going to get out. And I'm very, very clear with everyone on that. So I said, I'm not here, I don't promise results, but I can show you examples of clients who have done amazing things as a result of putting in the work. And everything is tracked, we have, we track everything in the sessions. And so I really get that confirmation from them initially that they're going to be uncomfortable. They're going to have to put in the work. Yeah. And once I kind of get that, they go to, then it's kind of like, yeah, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you end up ever firing clients if they're not putting in their work?
Not firing clients, but we have conversations. You have the different conversation, like, what's going on here. Yeah. And the thing is, especially with my line of work, is that if they're not putting in the work, it's because something is going on, and that's what we delve into, right? So it's not about me just firing someone and saying, bye, you're not putting in the work. It's like, what's going on here? And usually it is something else. Usually there's something deeper that's going on for them.
Yeah.
And so once they realize that, and we kind of work through that, then, I mean, I'll give you an example. We did a few sessions the other day with someone. We got to our third session, and I did check in with her on our discovery call the other day. I said, are you sure, you're ready for this? Are you sure and all this? And she said, yes. By the third session, she said, I don't know, like, I'm finding this really hard. Don't know if I can continue anymore. I said, okay, let's talk through it. Let's see what's going on, So we spoke through it in the session, and we had the session the next day. And it just turns out that because she says, I'm a perfectionist, she set these standards really high for herself, that by the third week, everything should be okay, and she should be happy and positive, and her life should change. So we delved into that, her expectations and what she's expecting from this, and herself and the journey. And then from then, and realizing that, the standard, the kind of expectation she placed on herself in like 2-3 weeks, kind of was a little bit unrealistic. Yeah. So working through that and the patience and all of that, then she was like, yeah, okay. And I did check in with her. I said, are you sure you want to continue? Are you ready? And she's like, yes, because she's now realized about like patience and being kind to herself, because that's essentially what we're working on, right? So it's a self-compassion part. So I think a lot of the time people are very hard on themselves and they think they're not doing a good job. So we have to work through that, and then it becomes a lot more sort of smoother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of, I wanted to check about saying no as well. So you've had these discovery calls. You're not sure if you want to proceed, but the person on the other end of the line is ready and willing to do anything to proceed. And that's not just about ideal clients. Maybe it's partnership opportunities. Maybe someone reaches out, and, in this kind of connected world, every time you go to an event and someone, or even a Zoom webinar or something like that, you end up having this inbox of opportunities. I'm focusing on the ones that you don't want to do. Let's say you already know what you don't want to do. How are you at saying no to these situations? Because I struggle with this so much. I say yes to things because I haven't, formulated exact reasons for why to say no to someone firmly.
Yeah.
Is what I realize as an afterthought. But yeah, I just wanted to check with you. Are you in that situation a lot where you end up saying no? And if so,
yeah,
how?
all the time. All the time.
You can say no to this question. No, I'm not going to answer this.
But no, this is something I really struggled with. Really, really struggled with initially. And I would say yes when I should have said no. And it really comes down to that whole thing of like wanting to be nice and, not wanting people to think badly of me and all that kind of stuff I had to work through within myself. And the thing is, I had some not so great experiences. So I actually learned the hard way. So, I'd say yes to kind of collaborations and opportunities. And it just didn't go well. It didn't go right. It just, the dynamic wasn't right or whatever it was. And for me, it was, what I learned from that was, if my gut is saying this is off, listen to that. If I don't feel good about it, that's it. I don't need to be logical about it and go into my mind. Obviously, yes, of course, a little bit. But a lot of the time I look back and I'm like, I knew something was off. Like I knew it, but I thought, no, this could be good because of X, Y, Z. And now, like you said, there are, meeting requests coming in, like collaborations, this and that. I cannot say, there's only one me, right? I can't be everywhere. I've got to keep my sanity, my mental health, my well-being as well. But it's also about knowing what's aligned with you. And for me, if something isn't aligned, I'm like, no. It's either a hell yeah or a no. That's what I've learned. Unless I'm excited about something, it's going to be a no, because with me, I can't hide how I feel. So if I'm not excited about it, I'll probably show. I probably won't be very motivated about it. I probably won't put the work in. And I like to, put my 100% into things. So if I'm not excited, it's not going to, do a disservice to it. So, but it's about, you can kind of say, I think you don't have to over-explain when you say no, right? It could be a matter of like, thank you for reaching out. This isn't quite a right fit for me right now. I wish you the best in it. Something like that. Like, it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be, a long explanation and over explain yourself. Because I think sometimes you can almost open the door for people to talk you out of it and try and convince you as well.
Yeah. And that's what Alina tells me all the time. She's like, you just make people fall in love with you and they just want to work with you, and you don't. And you don't know how to say no to that because you love the attention, which is true. I like being liked. And that's a very innate thing in a lot of us. I'm not ashamed about that. But at the same time, so the balance I'm trying to strike with these no's is I wish, for example, if I had a logbook of every time I said no, because I do have the tendency in parts of my life where I say no to a point of detriment. So no to something that might help me grow. Yes, it kind of does align with my values, kind of doesn't, but it's not something that I'm comfortable doing. And am I saying no because I'm not comfortable doing it? Because on the other side of comfort is, or uncomfortable, is the growth. And am I being lazy? Am I being incompetent by saying no as well? And that's just a fear I have. So I wish maybe I should do a logbook every time I say no and why I said no. Because these values that you talk about, we feel like we have them kind of, in the ether out there. They're there. We haven't written them down for when we take on an opportunity and when not. It's more like you said, like we check with our gut. I don't always trust my gut. I should. But like sometimes I just feel like, so I'll give you the reason why I'm asking. So another friend of mine runs a business, very old school, in terms of family businesses. They've been handing down each other's businesses and then they're starting their own. He's in his mid-30s and his reaction is never say no. It's like all business is yes. And I take on everything and anything and I will not sleep and I need to build this thing. And Alina's trying to explain to me like, but that's them. It's the same people that have learned from like a generation ago that you take a job regardless of how your boss is. That's not the current generation. We're like, no, our boss needs to be nice too. And, it needs to be an energy exchange at your work as well. But he's from that mindset where he's like, you're stupid for saying no to somebody. If they're giving you money and they're willing to work with you, you don't have to like them. And that's a thing that I kind of draw the line at. So Alina and I, when we got into business, we left our corporate jobs to not be around people that we can choose our surrounding now, right? We can choose who to have around. And maybe that's less money in the short term. So the last 6 months have sucked for us because we've said no way more than we ever have. And we're making way less money than I've ever made in my life. But there's so much peace.
Yeah.
There's so much peace. And I look back to some of the clients that say that it didn't work out with or we didn't want to move forward. It would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
It would have been hard to get out of.
Yeah, I think, and you obviously, this is where your values come in as well. Like obviously you've seen what peace feels like and you're like, wow, this feels good. This feels nice. And as you said as well, it's like, you don't make the decision to leave like your corporate role to then put yourself in situations where you're tied into things you don't want to do. You might as well have stayed in the office, right? You might as well have stayed in that situation. The whole point of you doing your own thing is that you have the freedom and that you can choose. So like you said, if it's going to start sucking you dry or make you feel down, then why are you doing it? It's not worth it. But again, that's where your values comes in it, because if for your friend that's not important to them, again, if money and all that is, the progression is more important, that's fine, that's great, that's more important to them. But like you said, they might not sleep, they might not eat, they might not have the self-care, but then of course that comes with its consequences as well, right? So
it's the price you're willing to pay, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess some prices we're less willing to pay, or we're learning over time as we continue to grow. We've only been around 2 or 3 years now, so newbies into this. I want to take you back in time again. When you were on the bridge of entrepreneurship, as I like to call it. It's a very nice bridge. I'm going to draw a painting of it someday. So when you were trying to step away from your corporate ladder, what were your biggest fears and considerations? And I want you to tell me without telling me how you overcame them. But what was bothering you the most about going out on your own, doing this thing as a full-on career? What was the anti-case? What was the, left shoulder angel saying, "Don't do this, Aliya. Don't. It's going to be very bad for you." What were some of the no, don't do this cases that you were building up in your mind?
I think it was the the first thing that comes to mind is like, how could I do something like this? Like, how can I, like, who am I to do something like this? And especially being, you know, like young as well, like it was kind of the thing about who will take me seriously, you know, wanting to help people and support people, be a coach. They're going to be like, you know, how can you help people at this age and with the lack of experience and all of that. And it was very, I mean, it was very, my track so far was very kind of clear cut. It was like, you know, uni and then job and then my next role. So thinking outside of the box was something completely new as well. And I come from a family of professionals and not business owners. So it was something quite new and different as well. And so it was just like suddenly opening your mind to something different. And the first thing, you know, would this fail? What if I do it and I fail? So all of those thoughts were coming up, you know, initially, thinking, what if I try and I fail, it doesn't go right? And yeah.
So you're massive impostering.
Oh, massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
So
yeah,
you have the same background. I think you don't have a business family, right? Is that
Yeah.
you mentioned. So what was the reaction of family, friends, and I'm talking friends that were in the medical career with you that were not thinking? What were some of the phrases that you remember till today about when you made the decision, like, that's it, I'm doing it, I'm quitting, I've done my accreditations, I'm on my own now? What was the support system like at that point? Or lack of support system?
Yeah. It's interesting because, you kind of see two sides, I think. You see different responses from different people. I think I'm lucky that my family were super supportive of it. You know, they were like, you know, if that's what you want to do, you know, that's great. You should go for it, you know, try it at least. And then, I think some friends were super supportive, some not so supportive actually. So, you know, it's kind of like, how can you do something different? Or sometimes if you have the courage to do something differently and people deep down want to do that and they're not, it can cause a little bit of friction almost. So I had to kind of go through that. And I think sometimes when you step out and do things differently, you also see other sides to people. And sometimes your relationships change as a result as well.
Yeah, it was kind of similar for us too, I guess. Well, I was quite late into the journey. So I was 33, 34 by the time I jumped ship. Family was not happy. Like, you have a good thing going here, like you've built up a solid career, you have a trajectory, stop messing around. And even before I started the business, I'd moved around different industries quite a bit. I'd get to one, I'd get good at it, then I'd get bored, then I moved to the next one, and I did that a bunch of times. And especially I remember my mom and my sisters, because they come from that background where none of us have ever done business. We've always kind of the package, the benefits, the sobriety of it all, just like go in 9 to 5, just having your path kind of cleared out for you. They were worried. And maybe that worry came as lack of support. And for the first year or two, they thought it was just a passion project too, right? Like, so they treat it as a passion project where they're like, oh, you can always go back into the job, right? And that's what we thought. Like, okay, I'm experienced enough to get back into the work field without ever losing, you know, my salary level or whatever else might be. So they thought, oh, it's his hobby, let him play. But the thing that you mentioned there, and we can dig into that, is you start changing who you surround yourself with once you go out kind of on your own. Because these conversations, like the ones that we're having, very difficult to have that with salaried people, or you can't do that for too long. You can't. I find I can't hold conversations with salaried people for a long amount of time, unless I've known them since I was kids. Like my childhood friends, I can talk to them forever. But I feel like my circle has now vastly changed to more entrepreneurs versus salaried people. Is that the same for you?
Mostly entrepreneurs, I would say. A couple of close friends who are like professionals and salaried, but most of them are. The conversation is different. I think.
And not to say that I don't like salaried people, because I think you can do really great things.
Of course.
Working a job and working a career. There are things that they'll be able to do that I will never be able to achieve, or the value that they might provide to humanity might be in total more than I would. And I respect them for that. It's just the unnecessary stressing that we do as business owners
Yeah.
is not really, you try to talk it out, people, and they're like, oh, what do you worry about? You got a business. I'm like, yeah. I was talking to my barber the other day, and he asked me, it's like, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, I have a business.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, wow, you're set. And I'm like,
Hey,
no, I've never made less money in my life. What are you talking? But
Yeah.
they shower this praise on you, right? They say like, wow, you must
Great.
be great. Like, when's your next Tesla coming in? Like, not a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also ask you, given these bouts of impostering when you started and the support from friends and changing the social circles, when did you first realize you're onto something good? When did you, that first moment, there must be a lot along the way as you keep checking in with yourself.
Yeah.
But what was the first time you're like, oh, I made the right decision?
I think it was just like when I just started coaching and made a positive impact, and you'd have those light bulb moments with clients and they're like, oh wow, that's really helped me. I remember actually one of the first clients that I started working with, we started working a lot on her limiting beliefs when it comes to work and the way she sees herself. And just like a few things she started to differently. She started sitting somewhere else at work and not, surrounding herself with everyone and chit-chatting and all that. She started being really serious and you kind of liaising with mentors at work. And then within a couple of months, she actually was promoted. And that was one of my first clients. It was actually my first client. And it was just incredible. And I was like, wow, just because her mind was like opened and she saw herself as like somewhere beyond where she is now. And she moved in that direction. So for me, seeing these shifts, I was like, wow, I want to do more of this. This is great. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and do you have the same habit that I do, that I continually watch my own customer testimonials just when I'm having a bad day? I don't turn on Netflix. I'd rather turn like, look, you're doing good in the world.
Watch video testimony. Name's great. He's the best.
It helps a lot. It's my therapy. But no, yeah, that having that kind of feedback from your first ever client.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really great. So and then just like, people, small things like they've been really hard on themselves and then suddenly they can start looking in the mirror. And again, this is like 4 years ago, right? These shifts, or, when I first started, it was very much like, it was all about confidence, but, literally write down 10 things that you like about yourself, 10 positive qualities that you have. I remember one of my first ever sessions, and she was quite senior, and I think she was in finance. This is back in London, and she couldn't write anything. And we just sat there and I said, like, I'm going to give you the time that you need, right? And then finally she started writing a few. And then to be able to even do that, it was like, wow, big moments like that. Yeah, kind of early on. So I think just from kind of seeing these shifts and seeing people then start to walk differently, talk differently, put themselves out there at work and, telling their friends. And then I started running workshops. So this is back in London. I started running confidence workshops and I started bringing women together. And that's what I loved, is that because a lot of people on this journey of personal growth, I don't know if you felt this, is it can be very isolating, because suddenly you're like, hey, I think I see the world differently now. I don't just want to be like just 9 to 5ing with my friends and hanging out and like talking about, bitching about our boss. Like I want to do more in life. And then suddenly you outgrow your circle and it's like, this is really uncomfortable now. Like I'm outgrown my friends. So I would run these workshops and like bring like-minded people together. And then so that was really cool as well. Because I was like, I don't ever want anyone to feel like they're alone. So if I can provide these spaces and hey, you can meet someone, connect and grow together, that's like amazing to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk about my personal journey with self-growth, it feels like, have you heard of the lobster analogy to growth? I'm probably going to butcher it, and I shouldn't really check my facts before I tell stories on the podcast. But
I'm just thinking of Friends when Phoebe's like, "You're a lobster." No. He's your lobster.
No, although I should, yeah.
Yeah.
I should mention that.
I thought you were going to call your wife your lobster.
No, not one of those. But so a lobster's shell.
Okay.
It's fixed in size. It's not a muscle, so it doesn't grow with the lobster. So the inside of the lobster, as the organic part of it, is growing and growing and growing until it outgrows its own shell, at which point it has to discard and shed off its own shell, at which point it's extremely vulnerable. It's afraid. It's a target for predators. It has to go down to the depths of the ocean where it's dark and hide under a rock until it can grow back a new shell. And that's what I feel. I've had so many lobster moments in my life, just to find myself in those vulnerable places. Like that's the weird thing about doing self-work.
Yeah.
It can actually make you feel bad initially.
Yeah.
And it can make you feel, as you were saying, uncomfortable. But if you start to like look at that or keep that lobster in mind, not Phoebe's lobster, but this one, I'm sure we'll find a way to fit that one into. Actually, let's talk about Phoebe's lobster. Who do you call most at 2 a.m. for business advice these days?
For business advice, well, I don't call anyone at 2 a.m. I'm like sleeping safe at start at 2 a.m.
Okay. Need my 8 hours.
I actually have, it depends on what I need advice on, actually. So, I think I actually have a few different friends who I'd call. It literally depends on what it is. So I have, there was an experience recently where I was like really thinking about a collaboration opportunity, and I didn't have a good feeling about it at all. But I have a friend who's like very savvy and just really tells it how it is. So I called him. I was like, hey, I need to speak this through with you. Can we go through it? Actually just met with him like to have that conversation. He was like, nope, get out. Like he just instantly talked me through it and we dissected it and stuff. So I think it's just like who's my go-to for whatever the situation is, and where they're on their journey, I'd say.
So you have a network.
Yeah, definitely. And quite a few of my closest friends are entrepreneurs as well. So just reach out to them. Yeah.
Are you part of any groups locally here?
Yeah, I'm a few. A few groups. So like British business group that I've joined. That one I've done. I've joined like a small kind of intimate networking group that we meet every 2 weeks as well. I would say it's great to be part of business groups for sure, because again, it's like, how can we support each other? I love that. Like, how can we help each other? How can we support each other? Which I think is really good, and helping each other tap into each other's networks.
Yeah, Alina has generally been better than me at this. So she's a part of a few too. Female Fusion is the one that she's most connected to, and it's done wonders for her. And I don't know what my block is. So I am mostly an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert, and I don't like being out too much with a lot of people. It takes more time for me to recuperate my energy. So after this conversation,
you're gonna have a nap.
I don't know. Yeah, I need a nap. I need a big meal, and like a baby, basically. I need my pillow, my little cushion has bunny ears on it, and so I'll need to recover a lot from that. But I'm really lacking that, and that's like a reminder for myself to really explore and again become vulnerable. Maybe it needs more practice, right? Like, what would you say to people that can benefit from groups, whether they're corporate employees or business owners, and how to break in and sustain being in a group? Let's assume that they found the right one, because that's another journey of its own. Assume you found something. How do you?
Okay, can I give an example of literally when I first started out? This always comes to my mind when I think of networking. Yeah. So I was like, I think 2 months in. So I was still in London at this time. And there was a networking event that was happening that night. This was like December, so it was cold, it was raining, and just miserable night. And I was like, I don't want to go. Like, there's no way I'm going to this event. But anyway, I somehow coached myself through it, got myself out the door, went to this event, and it was overwhelming. It was really overwhelming. And I was naturally someone who is a little bit reserved as well. I think I'm more extroverted, but I am still quite reserved. I'm not someone who can just be like, hi in a room. So I found that super overwhelming. Of course, it's become easier with practice and over time. But I remember having a conversation. So remember, I'd only just started my business 2 months earlier, and I'm specializing in confidence, and started talking. Yeah, exactly, right? Walking my walk. That's why I went. And so I went there, and then there was this guy, this videographer there, who I started speaking to, and he was like, oh wow, I love what you do. I'm going to London Fashion Week next week. I'm going to, spend the day, backstage. Why don't you come with me and we'll spend the day like interviewing models and, fashion bloggers, designers, all that. Let's do a piece on confidence. And I was like, wow. Anyway, so I went with him and literally spent the day like at London Fashion Week, and I was interviewing all these like celebrities, like designers and model, and put together some really great content for that. Yeah. And that was a great opportunity. I mean, like literally like 2 months in of me starting. And so for me, that's always my go-to. And obviously people were like, wow, this is so cool. You've done this. And it taught me a lot about confidence and my content. So for me, that's always my go-to story of like, whenever I don't want to go, I'm like, look, you never know what's going to come from that event. Honestly, it's just one conversation. Or I find that a lot of time at networking events, people will be like, hey, why don't you come to this? Or, hey, let's do this. So you just never know, like, what the next step could be from that. So, yeah, just getting yourself there.
Especially in a city like Dubai, right? Like everyone is 3 degrees away, or at least 2 degrees away from everyone else, and can open doors for you for things that you don't even know that you want to do. But you're already ready for it. Maybe keeping the bigger picture in mind about, because I've had instances like that as well. It's just about, again, I need to keep logs to remind myself. I think I need like a break glass in case of fire kind of book. Like, remember when this good thing happened? To go there.
But also just to add to that, I mean, like I think to be in this line of work, I realized early on as well is that you have to have a crazy amount of self-discipline. There's no one on your back, right? If you decide not to do anything for 3 days, no one's going to be there like, hey, like, where are you? What are you doing? Of course, like clients, you have to show up for them, but there's no like manager or someone saying, get out of bed, right? So you have to be like crazily self-disciplined, get up, get out of bed, have a routine, all these things. And a part of that is doing things you don't want to do. That's what self-discipline is. It's like if you go to things according to your mood, then your mood fluctuates, right? So you've got to be super self-disciplined of like, well, this event is good for me because of XYZ, and just like just not always doing things that you want to do or feel like doing, right?
This is why I have mad respect for people that kind of go into their entrepreneurial journey pretty early. So Vuk, that was here earlier, he went straight into business after graduating. And the reason I have that respect for them is I worked as a corporate employee for 10 years. So I have practice in things you mentioned, doing what I don't want to do, having a routine. It was given to me by the situation, but then it's drilled into me, and that's the only way I work. So I knew when I wanted to start my own business, I would have to keep those things because they have been working throughout for centuries. So no need to mess with that. Forget the whole Silicon Valley, I sleep when I want, wake up when I want kind of thing. I want to be a professional in whatever I do. But mad respect for people who don't have that much of an experience and still have to find themselves doing uncomfortable things. Like the amount of times you do things you don't want to do as a worker, as an employee, is at least 9 times out of 10. You want to do 1 out of 10 things that you're given to do, right? So, okay, talking about things to do or given to do. Do you have, or have you written yourself a job description as a business owner?
An actual like JD, an actual job description. You know what? That's an interesting question. I haven't actually. No. So, I mean, I know pretty much what it is that I do, but I've not written it out as a job description. Yeah.
If you were to write it out, how long would it be?
How long would it be? Probably.
Or how short would it be?
At least a page. Yeah, definitely a page. Or no more than I mean, obviously, when I started 4 years ago, it was like pages and pages and pages, right? Like making my own website, this and that. But I don't know, page and a half, I would say, something like that.
Not bad, because the reason I ask is I was talking to another coach, a sales coach.
That's too long.
I made one. I was so proud.
Yeah.
I read a book, The E-Myth Revisited. Have you read that book?
Which book?
The E-Myth Revisited.
No, I haven't.
Definitely need to pick it up. So the book recommended write yourself a job description so you can find out what you do.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell do I do?
Yeah.
And I was so proud. It was 8 pages long.
Oh, wow.
And I took it to the sales coach. He's like, you're mad. You're crazy. You're stupid. I was like, why? He's like, your job description as a business owner needs to be max a page, no longer. And if it is 8 pages long, I said, no, the font size was too big. He said, regardless. he said, you're either doing too much shit that you shouldn't be doing, or you don't know how to delegate. Both of those things were true.
Yeah.
And they still are true. So I'm trying to work it down. How have you found delegating or giving away tasks? You said like previously you'd have something that's longer as well, and you've tried to bring it down. How has that journey been for you? How do you identify things you don't want to do anymore or give away? How do you keep track of things like that?
Yeah. Well, initially as well, like it's budget as well. So, when I first started, I didn't have the budget to get someone to, create a website for me. So I did that myself and, things like that. But then again, I think as you start to progress, you realize that, your time is really precious, and you need to be, look, I know what I like doing and what I'm good at, and I know what I'm terrible at. Like there's a lot of things I'm terrible at. So why put my time and energy into those things that's going to take me longer and when there's people who actually enjoy doing those things? So I'll just focus on what I can do, my element. Of course, I do things that I don't want to do as well, but just being super clear. And, of course, when I first started, I was working like 7 days a week. I was working nights, didn't really have much of a routine. It was just all over the place. But now I'm very clear. It's like 5 days a week, then I have my own time. I have the work-life balance, and that's important to me. So it's a result of knowing when to delegate for sure. Yeah, just knowing like, what is this worth my time? And if not, I can just delegate it and outsource it.
And you're getting better every day at knowing what's worth your time.
I think it's still like a work in progress. I think there are still some things that I do struggle to let go of at times. I do, because it's like, no, like it's my baby, or, I can do it right. I've really struggled with that as well for the longest time. No, I think that there is still room for improvement to delegate more. But I think that also takes time to sit down as well and being like, okay, what can I give more, what can I give more of away? That makes sense. Yeah.
Which leads me to my next question then. So are you running this all by yourself? Do you have any full-time staff? Is it just you at this point?
I have a lot of like freelancers who I work with, but for me, it's me and then hiring freelancers as I need them. Yeah. But I'm looking now to definitely expand as time goes on. Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Because I'm really curious. How do you scale this personal brand, right? Like your whole model is right now built on you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier in the conversation, you have limited time in the day and there's only X amount of places you can be, which may again limit to the growth that your business can see. So how are you working around that right now? What are your plans? How are you thinking about scaling?
So for now, it's very much like I'm pretty happy with the kind of flow of things now, where I have my clients, I run my group sessions, I'm doing my trainings, and I think it's, as you said, it's just me, right? And there's only one of me and there's limited time. So I'm in a position now where it is, about like growing a team. So it's about growing a team. And I'm actually at that stage, if I'm really honest, of figuring out what that is. Because I think you get to a place where it's like, things are good, things are working, you get to a good place, and then you get to that point and then where it's like, okay, things are kind of just happening, they're kind of coasting, what's the next stage? So I'm kind of at that stage now where it's like, what's next? And I think the reason why I'm trying to figure it out is because there's different ways, there's different paths that I can take right now. And
what
so I'm just figuring.
So like, for example, one would be like bringing on coaches and teaching them what you do kind of thing, or
that's an option as well. Yeah, because obviously when it, there's I'm kind of even at capacity now as well when it comes to one-on-one clients, right? So I'm kind of like, well, if people come to me, they want to work with me, it'd be ideal rather than kind of signposting them, referring them elsewhere. What if I just have a team? Or what if someone says, well, actually, I can't afford to work with you. Can I work with someone else? And there's the different options, for example, within my team. So that's definitely one. And I think, of course, for like trainings and workshops as well, being able to train people and have a team is something that I am exploring right now. Yeah.
Who would your ideal first hire be? I know you're still like trying to jam it out within your own mind, but just on the top of your head, intuitively, who do you think your first hire would be? What kind of job would they be doing? What would their role be? What would their title be if you were to vision it? Who are you looking at?
I think maybe someone around, like something like around a community manager, because, you know, I do have, you know, existing clients. I have, you know, clients and customers who kind of still continue to come to my workshops over the years. They continue to work with me over the years. And I think like just having someone who can really like nurture the community and nurture the relationships. I do feel like I put a lot of time into that myself. I do really try. But I think just having someone who can bring in more ideas on how to nurture those relationships even more. Yeah. That's the first one that comes to mind. I'm sure there's loads more.
Gut.
Yeah, that was my gut.
That came from your gut. So this is your therapy session today.
How much do I send me the invoice?
Yeah, 8,000 and million.
Okay, I'm out.
I don't know how to do numbers. Okay, very cool. I mean, I've been in touch with other coaches, a couple that have been on the podcast, a couple that are in my life as friends as well. And I find the whole business fascinating in terms of how the value that you can bring to your clients in so many different areas that you can't even count for, but at the same time making a business out of it. You talked about making it as just a thing. I want to help people. And you can totally do that, right? Like I can go today, and I'm a very self-help focused nerd, right? Like I have been for a long time. So I've been going to books, free books when I can, YouTube, videos, documentaries, people, podcasts, that kind of thing. And to get paid for that enough to live the life that you want. So there's one thing in making money, and there's one thing in making enough money to live the life that you want, or what your ideal life is, or whatever success means to you, right? And I think it's actually, I want to jump into the sales process, because that's a big part of this business, right? Or your role too, is doing the sales. What have you learned about sales in terms of what does Aliya's sales process look like today? How organized it? How do you keep yourself organized? What are your follow-up routines? We talked as much about the discovery call, but what happens after? And also, how do you differentiate the sales cycle of someone that came to you, someone who has a need, but maybe not a want, or a want but not a need, versus someone you think has potential to do better, but they don't know it yet, and you have to kind of initiate that sales process. Does that happen a lot, where you're initiating the sales process to someone?
Kind of, yeah. So, I mean, there's different scenarios. And I think there has to be like that readiness as well. As I said, I think whoever decides to work with me, it's important for them to come at a time where they're like, right, I'm ready now. And a lot of the time, people, as you said as well, you know, you read books and you listen to podcasts and things like that. And a lot of people that come to me have already taken those steps. So they've already they listen to podcasts, they're into self-help books. They've even had therapy, for example, in the past. And now they're like, I've done that. And it's been useful, but I need something more, or I start and then I just fall back again, or I can't stay consistent. So this is why I want to work with you. So they come very ready. So they're just like, I've been watching you for a while. I've been watching your videos. I've been following you for a while. And then I want to work with you. Or they'll come to one of my workshops, for example. Then you have like other people who they're interested. And maybe we have a discovery call and they are interested, but maybe it's just not, the timing isn't quite right yet, or they're not 100% sure. And that's fine. I say, for example, why don't you come to one of my workshops? Why don't you come and get a taste of it? Why don't you come in and experience it with a group as well? And then see from there. And a lot of the time what happens is they end up coming to a group workshop, for example, taking the first few steps and then saying, okay, I found this useful. Now I kind of want to go deeper, because there's obviously only so much you can do in a group. Now I want to go in and fully go in and invest in myself. So it's kind of like I see the two happening. Two.
And how long do you take them on this journey for? So there's a bit of nurturing that happens for the ones that are lukewarm. For the ones that are ready, they're ready, right? But for the ones that need some nurturing, slight pushes, slight nudges, how often do you have a cutoff for yourself? Like, okay, after this point, I'm not going to remind them or chase them, or do you have a system built out to kind of like just keep them in the loop?
So, I mean, obviously being present on like social media and then having emails as well, keeping people warm through those channels is obviously, you know, very good and useful. But I mean, I'll give you an example. Someone who I'm working with right now, she reached out to me during the pandemic. So literally 2020. And, you know, she was like, I really need help with my confidence. It's, you know, I'm not having a good time at work. But then at the time, she just didn't decide to sign up. She was like, I'm going to give it some thought or whatever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, come back, you know, when you're ready. But of course, she still followed me on social and, you know, emails and seeing me and everything. And then I sent an email. I think it was, I don't know, a few weeks ago, it was about 3 months ago now. Yeah. 3 months ago, I sent an email and she replied to that email being like, hi, I want to work with you now. She replied to the 2020 email actually, asking about that same, you know, the coaching that we spoke about. And she's like, and then we had a call. I said, let's get on a call. And she was like, it's still really bad, but it's even worse now. And my, you know, boss is telling me that I need to work on this. So I'm ready now. But it's a result of like just being there, like just being present. And I think you should never like force anyone or push anyone, and because that's not right. I don't believe in that. I think just nurture them, be present, give value, and when they're ready, and people have that readiness, they're like, okay, that now hits me, or this has happened in my life now. It happens all the time where people say, you know, I've been following you for a while, but I decided now because I'm going through this to reach out to you. Yeah. So I think just having that consistency, which builds trust, and then people will eventually reach out when it's the right time.
Absolutely true. We did a webinar 2 years ago, and yesterday I had a discovery call with someone that was on that. Like, I came to that webinar. I've been following you guys for 2 years. I wasn't ready at the time, didn't have the budget, but now I can afford you guys. So like, let's have a chat. Like, wow. You know, the whole process that we were taught as salespeople, my mindset has changed a lot on that. And I'm still trying to find my balance. So we were taught, you call these people until they tell you to F off. Yeah. That was the strategy, right? Because we were selling financial derivatives. These are high value clients, and they're busy people. And what we were told by our management and other people that are doing well in the company is that you call until they tell you to not call, or use the words, put me on the do not call list. So very aggressive. You can imagine a bunch of chads, which is just us with high testosterone. I had the lowest, but they all had high testosterone, and it's suits, dressing up every day, 8 a.m., ready to pound the phones. If you've seen Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. Good movie.
Minus the midgets. But that's what we were, because it's in Canada, so we're still polite. But yeah, we were doing that day in, day out, just pressuring people. And luckily, none of the stuff that we were selling was illegal or illegitimate. Like, stuff works. It's just we had to push people. And now that I do business with Alina, which her style is more like yours, like, I'll give value. If they want, they can come to me. Yeah. But I'm not going to follow anyone around. So we kind of made up a rule where we do 7 touch points until we expect a sale. Yeah. And a touch point could be anything you want. It could be the initial discovery call, to a follow-up email, to a WhatsApp message, to an email blast going to them, or whatever it is. After 7, then they're just out into nurturing. Then we're not expecting that. But for that first 7 touch points, we're still, let's say, semi-aggressively chasing them or following up with them. But yeah, we don't get results from that. We get results from people like the one I talked about yesterday, who watched the webinar 2 years ago, found themselves to be ready. And then they came along for the journey.
Yeah, I think it's because I know what I don't like, and I don't want to do that to anyone else. Like, I hate aggressive selling. I hate icky selling. I hate manipulative selling. I hate just anything that feels icky. And so I'm really like conscious of that. And I know a lot of the icky stuff really works. I know a lot of the aggressive stuff really works.
Well, that's why they're doing it. It's been working for centuries.
Of course. Yeah. And but it's very masculine energy as well. It's very masculine, and it's very, and I think I actually... I ended up working with a mentor who's all about the feminine energy way of working, actually, and it was very, very very interesting. And it was all about you can run a successful business and do really well in a feminine way. Yeah. And so I was like, that for me sounds that it resonates more, rather than this whole aggressive, and it doesn't even feel good to me. I don't want to be aggressively chasing people and be annoying, and I can't do that. So again, it's what feels right for you, I think. Yeah,
I think you learn from your own results too. Yeah. And results in terms of what comes out of it in the business and how it makes you feel. Like, how does it upset my stomach when I'm trying to be too aggressive? It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I do have low testosterone, like by medical tests, and I was around 3 sisters. And I feel like, okay, I've been trying to force my masculine energy where I feel like I have a bit more balance, and maybe leaning a bit more towards a balance of both is better for me, and dropping the whole aggressive, we gotta call these guys, and I'm gonna send them these many emails, and I'm gonna tell them if they sign up in October, I'm gonna give them 20% off. By the way, that's my biggest turn off. If someone gives me a time deadline, I know for a fact that's made up, I'm off the phone. That email is going to delete.
I hate that. Yeah.
It's funny because we use that, but it works.
Yeah.
But if someone uses that on me, I'm like, no, deadline. Oh, you know when the deadline is? Now. Boom, gone. Bye. Sorry, salespeople. Some of you are nice. Okay, I'm switching gears again. I want to talk to you about time management. And time management from a perspective. So we did the intro, we talked about you coaching CEOs, celebrities, these hot shots, right? What have you seen about them before they even come to you? So they've obviously reached a certain level in their career. They're already high up on the corporate ladder, or if they're celebrities, they've done well in media or whatever else it is. So they are masters of their craft in some way, shape, or form before they come to you for even more improvement or filling in the gaps. What were the traits, or what pattern do you see in the traits of their time management? And I ask this again selfishly, because I feel like some people have 26 hours a day. And that could be obviously portrayed differently on social media and through accomplishments. But I feel like, do I have the same time as these guys? Because the amount of work these guys are doing. So it must be something to do with their time management. So before they come to you, what patterns do you see that are working in their favor in terms of time management? And maybe that's related to energy management too, but what would you find?
So, a lot of people who are, like literally bosses in their lives, like they've got everything pretty much structured A to Z, right? From block to block to block, half an hour block throughout the day. What I work with a lot of these people on really is about their well-being and their stress. So yes, they're doing like 50,000 things a day. They're super high achievers. They're doing amazing things, but they're never fully present. Their mind is everywhere, jumping 100 miles an hour. They're not having the time for their relationships or for their self-care and things like that. So we look at, when it comes to time management, of course, everyone is different, but this is one of the things that we'll look at, and we'll be like, well, how much time are you actually giving to yourself right now? How much time are you actually giving? Because what happens is when people are super busy, like what happens is them as a person, they fall right to the bottom of the list. And so that's essentially why they've come to me. A lot of them are successful. They know how to be successful in what they're doing, but they're just like, I don't feel good, or I'm on the verge of burnout right now. So for them, we're looking at time management in a way, well, what can we take out? When can you have time in your day where you're pouring into your own cup? And that's like, I get everyone I work with to have a morning routine. Everyone who starts to work with me, we create a morning routine together. They need at least 15-20 minutes in the morning for themselves, not just getting up, running out the door, and emails in their bed, like that's going to frazzle their brain. So carving out time, whether it's like in a lunch break or in the evening or on the weekends, to have more of a balance for themselves.
Can I don't want to use the word challenge, but jam with you on that. So you mentioned that when someone, let's say, work on their craft, and some people are going towards burnout in the sense that they value themselves the last, and they lose health, relationships, and stuff like that. But on the other hand, they're really successful at what they do. Yeah. They have breakthroughs at work all the time. So then, is the opposite also true, where if you do look after yourself, you put yourself higher on the list, you prioritize your own health, mental space, that you lose your edge with work, in the sense that you're not as innovative anymore because you're a lot more relaxed and you're more calm and you're not on high stress. Maybe you're not as aggressive in pursuing the next round because you're not looking to fulfill your life with work. You have a very fulfilled life. Is that I don't know why I'm asking this, because that's how that's
I get
how
it. Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
That's how I feel sometimes, right? Like I feel like I need to burn myself to the ground to achieve the level of success, because that's what I've seen myself, for example, doing in football. When I play football 3 times a week, I give it 160%. And I burn myself out, and it hurts afterwards. It hurts for days afterwards, but I enjoy it, and I like being the best playmaker on that pitch. Very competitive that way. But I've played games where I play at 90% and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I feel relaxed. But I don't like the not winning parts. How do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile working on yourself, being more calm, having a nicer, colorful life, which I do right now, but not being able to innovate as hard, or, just break through the barriers to success in that way?
Yeah. Well, I guess it doesn't have to be so black and white. And it's 100%, get what you're saying completely, is that like a lot of the driving force of what gets people to where they are, especially like people who are successful, whether it's like low self-esteem, for example, let's look at it. If we kind of dissect it a bit more, people who are very high achieving, a lot of the time it does come from a place, not everyone, it comes from a place of like, I'm not good enough. I need to do harder. What I'm doing is not good enough, and constantly feeling like they need to do more and prove more to themselves. So, and that's what makes them keep going. But on the other hand, I mean, again, I think with the work that I do, it's really also a big part of it is like, how do you feel? It really is about that. So yes, you can be achieving 1,001 things, but if you're not feeling good, if you're exhausted and you're burnt out and you're tired and fed up every day, then really what is the good in all the incredible things that you're doing? I mean, if you want to continue with that, great. If you don't want to lose that flair, you don't want to kind of, mess with it, great. But these are people who have recognized that they don't want to continue this way. So it's about just making small changes. I never say to people do like a complete 180, on in your life. But it can be, for example, in the morning having that time. But then when you're at work, still going, full force when you're in that meeting, giving it your all. But then, for example, coming out, even just giving yourself 5 minutes in between a meeting, just to kind of calm, your brain, recenter yourself, refocus, and then go do the next thing. Giving yourself these small little pockets in between just to kind of look after your well-being. But then again, like I said, you then bring your A game into the next meeting.
It's also all the hustle porn that's out there that's kind of normalizing for you to burn out, or making it the only way. And even the stories of like these tech giants, right? Like, it's messed up lives. There's some really messed up lives of these people that the stories come out later. And the discussion, Alina and I have this discussion a lot, because you mentioned earlier, like now you choose to do the work that you're doing. No one's telling you, no one's managing you, no one's checking in on you. You choose the level of burnout that you're going to put yourself through. Yeah. And I have in my corporate life really, really worked hard. And I'm using this time in the business to really adjust my energy level. So if I'm going to take a nap at 2 p.m., I will take a nap. Yeah. If I want to start the day off by going for an hour walk, I will do that because no one's waiting for me. I don't take meetings in the morning. Basically, that's my rule. I don't take a meeting before 12. 11 sometimes but 11 is the earliest I would take. So if I wake up at 6, I have 5 hours to do deep work, to do work on myself or anything like that. But at the same time that I've instituted these practices, which is having an hour to myself in the day. So 20 minutes yoga, 20 minutes meditate, 20 minutes journal. And I find my energy is so much calmer. Yeah. But at the same time, my desire, which is the root of all suffering, my desire to do great, innovative, breakthrough, hustle, $1 million by the end of this year has really calmed down. And that can also affect business results, especially if I've made promises to myself to grow the business by X%. Yeah. So Alina and I try to reconcile that all the time. And it's also about the value of each second you put as a business owner, right? Your time is so highly leveraged. Each decision that you make, each second that you put on it can be worth 2 or 3 years worth of work by saying a simple yes or no. But what I'm trying to reconcile and trying to work out and try to be the case study for is that you can be relaxed and calm and still do well, because I don't have enough stories like that. We don't hear enough stories of people who are well balanced and still doing innovative things or doing or growing like crazy. I guess also taking a 20-year, 30-year time frame and seeing all the health problems develop in people as they go through this too.
I guess people's values have changed more now as well. But of course, I mean, I talk to friends about this as well. I do talk to friends. I think I've seen it more with my male entrepreneur friends that they're all about the hustle and burnout. They are fully in that and they thrive off of it as well. And they're not going to change.
But that's what we're up against, right?
Exactly.
I feel like that's what I'm up against.
Yeah. But then I look at them and I obviously talk to them about it as well. And you can see like how on edge they are and how stressed they are, right? And again, they're dealing with big amounts of money and, you know, being thrown around but that's what gives them the edge. So for them, it's like they thrive off of that. So it's almost like, and I asked one friend about this as well. And I said, but what about like your well-being and like feeling good? And he was like, well, it just isn't a priority for me. For me, it's about like I have set goals for the next few years, and that's the only thing that I care about. That's all I want to get to. That can be like my happiness and well-being doesn't matter right now.
Does that hurt you to hear that? Especially to your friends.
And it was what friends are for. We support each other through the madness, right? And like, it's a conscious decision at least. Yeah, it's a conscious decision, right? But that's their values, and it's like, okay, whereas if you're someone who's like, it might take a little bit longer, but I'm on my way, but for me it's important to have that well-being. I'm all about the slow and steady, you know, like it's a tortoise, right? Is it tortoise? Tortoise
in the hair.
And, you know, I watch a lot of videos around this as well. And I think we're so like ingrained to expect like overnight success and results to come really quickly. And then if we don't, we're like, something's wrong. But like good things take time. And I think we just got to have that patience to know that I keep doing it. And this is a lifestyle. I remember when I started doing my own thing, and I wouldn't even have lunch. Like I would just work through. Yeah. Or I just would be too busy for lunch. And I can't remember, was it my mentor, my coach? And you know, she said, well, you chose to do this. You've got to create a sustainable lifestyle for yourself. And I was like, that's true. I should just take some time off to eat lunch, you know? And I did that. So even now it's very much living with that kind of ethos of, well, this is a life that I'm creating. I want it to be sustainable. Some people want to go all in and work crazy amounts of hours, but then when you're with them, they're super like, they're not focused, they're not there, their head's all over the place. And for my line of work, again, it's different for what you do. For me, I need to be super present. Like I'm a coach, so I can't be sitting in a session and my head is like thinking about, I've got to do this, I have to do that. So I manage my energy throughout the day. Like I can't be sluggish, I can't be tired, I can't be frantic. I need to be fully calm and present because I know that's when I can fully give to my clients. So I think that's where it's become a conscious decision, like as well.
Yeah, no, thank you for confirming that the long game, it's worth it to do it for the long game, because now I'm going to take my 2 p.m. naps even more often. I'm not going to let that go.
For me, it's like a 4 p.m. nap because for like 20 minutes. I love 20-minute naps.
Really 20 minutes is my ideal, but I'm trying to figure out the optimum time by how much time does it take from the time I lie down on the couch for my eyes to close.
Yeah.
So I usually set a 30-minute timer. I figure give it 10 minutes. If I do end up sleeping 40 minutes in the afternoon, I'm so sluggish. Yeah. It's so bad. So bad, but it's so lovely. All the dreams I have in my afternoon naps.
You need to write them down.
I do write down my dreams. I write my like night dreams in my morning journal time. Some crazy ones this morning I had to write about.
Wow.
So strange. Yeah, I do some Reiki with my energy healer, and she recommended that I look into my dreams because they're very vivid, and you know, I mean, I can read too much into these things, but it's fun. It's at least fun for me 5 years down the line to read back and see what I was writing.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because I never remember my dreams. But last night I had a really vivid dream and I actually woke up and looked up what it meant. So it was really interesting. Yeah. Good
vibes or bad vibes?
I was like, interesting. I think hopefully good. I mean, I was like, interesting. Yeah.
It's fun stuff. My mom used to have a book of dream interpretations.
Oh, wow.
So I've been like tuned to like read into these things before. Okay. I want to talk about despair.
Okay.
Has there, I mean, see, you have to get a little vulnerable. This is, you are a coach and you're helping people through your life. But I'm telling you from personal experience and of the 15 others that have been on this podcast, we've all had a moment where, or moments recurring, that we wanted to just shut this down, shut the business down, let it go. It was nice while it lasted. Don't think it's the thing that I want to do. It's giving me too much of a headache and a stress and a burnout. I've done the math for the opportunity. It's not that great. Something else beckons. Have you ever gotten to that point yet? And the answer can be no too. That's fine. But have you been to the point where you just want to walk away from this coaching for yourself?
Yeah, there have been a couple of times. I'll share one in a bit, but I think, there's definitely been times where it's like, God, it would just be easier to have a 9 to 5. God, it would just be easier to be able to walk out of the office and shut my brain off, check out. Yeah. Instead of constantly be on, constantly be thinking and not. So there's definitely been times. The pandemic was difficult, the beginning of the pandemic. And one of the reasons was because for me, it was more like logistics at the time, because a lot of my clients, I was in Dubai, but most of my clients at the time, because I was living in Abu Dhabi before, were in Abu Dhabi. I'd only recently moved to Dubai. So I was actually commuting at that time, because it was online calls weren't a thing then. So grateful for the pandemic now. But I used to go and frequently, a few times a week, go and see my clients in Abu Dhabi. And so what happened was a pandemic hit, and then a few of them, it was just kind of slowly transition. Let's just pause this for now. Because we can't do the face-to-face thing. A few of my clients here, people lost their jobs. So I lost clients here who lost their jobs. People were then at home. So they were like, well, we're not going to the office. I don't really need the coaching to help me in the office and social skills and speaking. So slowly everything just kind of started to go down. And I was like, oh my God. And it got to a point where I was like, I don't know what to do. And I remember just being so I don't know what to do. But I remember though at that time being like, I just knew this was a pivotal moment for me. I had that. I was like, sometimes, because I think I've been through enough experiences in life to know that sometimes when things just fall apart, it's because it's a time where you need to pivot and just try something different. So I did get really disheartened. But for me, there's no other thing that I want to do. I can't even see myself. It's not even an option to just go back to the 9 to 5, or because it's become me now. So it was really a case of, okay, let's figure this out. And that's what I ended up doing. But 100% there's been times, and it's hard. And I've cried and I'm like, I'm not good enough for this. And you make it about you. Yeah. Because the thing is the danger of this is that you make the business you. Yep. So I've learned now to detach, but initially, and I think for every entrepreneur experiences this. So it's when the business is going well, you feel good about yourself. Hey, I like myself. I feel good about myself. But then when it's not going well, you have a really bad opinion of yourself. I'm nothing, I'm really bad at this, I'm terrible, all these things. And it goes up and down your self-worth according to how the business is going. And that is just so dangerous. It really, really is. So I learned then how to make that detachment. It's no, the business is there and this is me as Aliya. They're very two separate. Tell me about that detachment, because we're totally there. We're our self-worth is directly proportional to my balance sheet or to my profit and loss statement. How are you doing that work for yourself and detaching? I've done a lot of healing work and therapy and coaching around these things. So I think that was huge for me. Digging in really deep and understanding a lot about my self-worth, my self-love, and why I'm doing this and the attachment. So I think it's from that, really, from the healing and coaching work that I did, I was able to distinguish myself and because it actually became my identity at one point. It was so merged that I was me, the coach, and I was like, oh, this is all kind of one into one. So learned then how to be more of me, again through the inner work, and then make that separate. Yeah, we go through those phases sometimes. For example, I have a few fellow agency owner friends, not friends, but acquaintances that are meeting up on Sunday. And, being very
open about this business isn't doing the best that it can be. And I hate going to these things now, or I feel so impostery because there's so much self-flagellation happening in my mind, right? Because the business is not doing well because I'm not doing well, because I did this something. And luckily we are in a partnership when one of us is going through these spirals, the other person's like, look at the amount of works we've done, look at the external factors, look at the things that are not in our control. And luckily neither of us go into the same sulk together. But when we do, boy, I can count them on one hand in the last 3 years that we've gone into the sulk together. Those are tough when we're both just lying on the bed and being like, I want to shut this down. This is not worth it. It's not what I signed up for. Next day you're in love with it again. Because it goes back to the reasons why you started. It goes back to, for us, there were 3 things. One was the lifestyle, which includes who you spend your time with, how you spend your time, how many naps do you take in the afternoon. The second was money, not the first, not the last. Second reason we started this was to make a decent living with decent money. And the third one was as a creative output, or our creative expression into the world. This business is play for me. It's what can I do with a blank piece of paper? I've been given this blank piece of paper. What can I draw on it? And that's when 2 out of 3 of these boxes are ticked off, I'm feeling good. When 2 of them are not ticked off, then, like, for example, right now there's less play in the business, less creativity, and there's less money. But the lifestyle is there. I still have control of that. So I start feeling off a bit until something, so I know what to inject in. Either I need more clients to fill in the money thing, then I have 2 out of 3 things, or I have the creativity going back in where we're coming up with a new service or a new package or a new audience or a new target market for our services, etc. Actually, we are working on that, so but it's not fully ready yet. Okay, that's despair. I wanted to ask you also, in terms of, you do a lot of visioning with your clients, I'm guessing, right? Vision boarding and stuff like that. But for yourself, when you first started versus today, if I were to compare your 2 vision boards from 4 years ago to today, what would you tell me are the biggest differences in how you're visioning or how you're thinking about visioning?
Is this from the start, you mean?
Yeah, from the start to today. Like if you were to make a vision board at the start of your journey and one today, what differences would you see in both of them?
Well,
and what would you see the same?
Okay. So, it's funny because there's the beginning one, which I can think of, but then there's also the middle one, which is actually kind of different now to like where I am as well. So I think that was interesting. So yeah, I think really initially it was, I just remember, it sounds so cheesy saying the story, but like I was on the Central Line going to work. This is in London, and I was reading The Secret. I probably like such a cliche.
What? We've all read it.
Like, wow. And then, but reading that then, I remember at that moment just reading and picturing myself like speaking in front of people and running workshops. And for me, that was such a distant thought. Like that's not something that was in my kind of like space or something I could ever see myself doing. It was just this like distant thought, like, wow, imagine I could do that one day. So something like, that is even just getting started. I remember even just putting a microphone like as a podcast and then being like, wow, imagine having my own podcast one day. So even just as simple as like literally speaking in front of people was my initial one. I then went through like a phase in between where I wanted to have the whole like, billions of followers and this much money and, this amount of, like not fame, but like just impacting millions of people around the world and being a big name. And I kind of went through that phase. And then I had to kind of go through them and was like, is that really what I want? And I realized actually no, because with that comes a lot as well. With being someone that's so out there, that's so known, that also has its kind of other things that actually isn't aligned with me. And so now I've so I went through all of that, and then I went through, my life was kind of out of balance at that point. And then I put in things like spending more time with people I love and friends and being able to go and work from abroad and like putting those things on my vision board. And then slowly I realized, and I was like, slowly I've kind of made those things happen. And so now it's funny because now it's kind of more like grounding, if that makes sense. So the things are happening, and I definitely have things on my vision board that I feel like I'm moving into the direction towards. But it kind of went through a weird kind of funk in the middle, and I was like, that's not aligned with me.
So lack of clarity, or just
maybe it was like almost what I thought I should be trying to achieve.
So Tony Robbins told you to do.
I did go to his workshop, so maybe, but like, I was like, do I really want millions of followers? Do I really need to make this amount of money? I mean, it'd be great, but like, again, those things come with other, factors. For example, like, do I want to be in the spotlight that much? To be really honest, no, I don't. I actually don't. Don't want to have that amount of followers and attention. No, I don't. So like, I at some point I kind of went down the road of what I thought that I should be on track to do, because again, like, there's this picture of success that's painted. Like, you should make this amount of money and you should be this and this kind of brand. And I've like defined my own version, like definition of success. Yeah. And that's what I'm working on and with now. So yeah, I think that's how it's kind of changed.
That's awesome. Can I recommend an article that you might find interesting to read?
Please,
It's called 1,000 True Fans. I think written by Kevin Kelly, if I'm getting that right, but I'll double check that. But I think it's a really great read especially when you're considering like, how many people do I need to impact? I won't give more details. I think it's a fun read. There's 2 versions. There's one pre-internet, one post, whole social media thing as well. 1,000 True Fans. I'll send it to you after this.
Please do.
Now I want your recommendation. So books, I haven't, I'm looking for recommendations for myself. What do you think has impacted, well, you obviously don't know me much. So what has impacted you the most? Like what kind of books come to mind? Or what books do you recommend your clients to read if they haven't read already?
Yeah. The first couple of books I read when I got started was, have you heard of Daniel Priestley?
What's the name of the book?
Daniel, Key Person of Influence, so KPI. So he goes through like the 5 Ps of running a business and having a personal brand. Okay. And then he also has this other book called Oversubscribed. And that's really good. It's literally about how to have clients basically lining up at your door and being oversubscribed. So those are the 2 books that really impacted me. And I loved, again at the beginning as well, like Simon Sinek's What's Your Why? Because start with why. What's your why? I was confused. Start with why. Yeah, because that for me, I always bring that into my sessions. Like even now, after 4 years, I'm always asking my clients, why? Why do you want to do that? Why? Because when you have that why, it's what keeps you going, what keeps you moving. And if you haven't got a clear why, you probably won't be very motivated to do something. So that was another really like key book for me, my journey.
Any other that come to mind? Let's say from a more of a, I wouldn't say woo-woo, but I'm personally looking for something a bit more out there. Not as woo-woo as A Secret, but something around that genre too.
I would say books on even money mindset then as well.
Like your relationship with money and...
Yeah, there's even workbooks. So, what's her name? She's called Catherine Zenkina. I think that's her name.
Catherine with a C or a K?
K, yeah. That's her name. I can send you the book. And she has books around money mindset and manifestation and kind of digging into those areas. So that would be, I think, really great in terms of more like woo space.
Okay. Cool. I like to have a balance of all of these, because I can go into the deep end of either or. I don't know why I do this to myself, but it's fun. Can I ask you, you're a coach. You've talked about working with other coaches. You've talked about coaching other people. You've talked about mentors. You've talked about friends that you can call at 2 a.m. Actually, no, you don't call anyone at 2 a.m., but you do call them often to run them by things. But does any lesson come to mind that no one could have taught you, but you had to learn it for yourself through experience? And life itself teaching you a lesson without someone else having to save you at the time. Does anything come to mind?
Loads. Like which one? I think I mean, like if we're talking about like business, for example, I mean, like it is really tough. I know it sounds so simple, but I think enough people aren't prepared for that it is a tough journey, and there are lots of ups and downs, because I see it so much where people, it's just like, I'm not good enough for this, I can't do this, or things haven't worked out, I shouldn't continue. But just having you just have to be like your own best friend and cheerleader, very much so. So I feel like alongside all the externals, right? And when I say externals, I mean like your goals and your business and working and all of that, the external stuff that you do outwardly, you need to, alongside that, constantly be keeping up internally. So you need to be like checking when you need to see like, am I aligned with what I want right now? Because if you could be like, oh, I want to, make this amount of money, or I want to be speaking at this bit, but if everything internally is like self-sabotaging you, that you're going to be constantly like, self-sabotaging. You're going to be pushing away these opportunities subconsciously without even realizing, or saying no, or pushing things away. So you've got to constantly, because like each different chapter of your life, like there's so much growth, and you've got to like be aware of the growth that's happening within, and not shy away from that, not shy away from like checking in with yourself, not shy away from like the ugly emotions, not shy away from like really looking at life and delving into that. So I think like just trusting that life comes in seasons. I actually did a post about this yesterday. I think there's seasons in life. It's not always like linear, where it's like, okay, everything is great, I'm positive, I'm happy. No, there's some times, and I was going through this recently, where I've just felt kind of like lost, like a bit lost and a bit disconnected. Externally, everything has been happening the same, but internally, I've just been like, I don't know, but I embrace the fact that I'm in that season.
Yeah.
And so understanding that life has seasons, and a lot of time this kind of like lost period is getting you ready for the next period, which is probably a bit more fast moving, and you'll get that clarity.
Yeah.
But it's not just going to come to you. You've got to kind of become aware and reflect and be like, what's going on for me right now? So I think if you start to have that patience with yourself of like, it's not always going to be so clear cut, but checking in with yourself, where am I like internally? How do I need to grow and change for me to make those things happen? It's not just about continuing to do the same things, right? As Einstein says, over and over again, having the same results, but being like, what do I need to change internally to get myself to get to where I want to go to? Yeah,
I think I was on that similar path a few weeks, months leading up to this. The word I was using to Alina was like, I feel turbulent inside. Like I might seem calm on the outside, but the waters are turbulent inside. And it's funny because we're talking about that dream. The dream, when I looked it up this morning, it said you will pass through the turbulence. I'm like, yes, I've been waiting for months to pass this. And it's no one prepares you for, people tell you how tough it's going to be, but no one prepares you for how tough mentally it is going to be, and how on you have to be, and how you really can turn it off, especially if you're married to someone you're doing business with. And we never stop talking about it. And we don't find, actually, no, we're getting better at it. Actually, we go through phases of it where we, like our last word before going to bed, unless I make a rule, like 9 p.m., we don't talk business anymore. But there's months in between where I want to. Yeah. And there's months in there where I, please do not. Sometimes the timeline moves up to 8 p.m. Please do not talk to me about business after 8 p.m. But she said, you take naps in the afternoons. I can't talk to you in the afternoon. Like, okay, fine. We can talk till 9:30. Till 8:15. Till 9:30. But, you make up your own rules as you go. But, you're never really prepared for how tough it's going to be. I remember meeting an entrepreneur 5-6 years ago, so way before I started this. And I was just bitching and moaning as corporate employees do about how hard it is to start a business, right? Because you always have excuse. I had massive excuse-itis. And I was like, to buy all these licenses and this and that. It's like, it's not like the States where you can set up a shop in your garage and like, do whatever you want and like get off the ground. He just looks at me, said, it's actually good. People are like you are not allowed to do business. And he's very serious. And we were acquaintances. We're not friends.
Yeah.
He's being very honest. He's like, because it takes a lot
Yeah.
to be ready and willing to take on these risks when you're coming to a country like this and starting your own business. It's good that a lot of you are being weeded out because they're doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get into it not knowing what you're getting into, which is in other countries. If it's easier to get in business, doesn't mean everyone can do business well.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he told me earlier on. We have limited amount of time left. I do want to start wrapping up. I have one more question for you that we can cover here, and then a rapid fire after that, if you're up for that. But yeah, I want to talk about, I think you did a podcast episode on this too, the feeling of falling behind and the imposter syndrome. It is completely unchecked now with social media. And no matter how many, I've thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
Here's one way I think about it, and tell me what you think about this. I actually like it when people get imposter syndrome sometimes, because that is their gut telling them that they should stop doing the thing that they're doing, because you're probably not good at it. And that's a very mean thing to say, and it's a very aggressive thing to say, but I find some truth in that, because some truths are uncomfortable. But I found for myself, at least, when I get imposter syndrome about a certain thing, like playing the guitar, this guy plays it so much better than I do, or I go ahead and like I've been playing for so long and I can't do this. I'm like, okay, maybe you should either practice shit or get off the pot. Like, stop doing it. Your imposter syndrome is telling you, go focus on something else. And that's mean. That's a mean thing to say. And I've told my friends, and I've lost some friends because of this. Because usually the response to imposter syndrome is like, no, don't compare yourself to others. But imposter syndrome is coming from your gut, from somewhere in your gut. What if it's partially true?
I mean, I would kind of challenge that, because
I'm hoping for that. Yeah.
I mean, you said that usually when it comes to imposter syndrome, people aren't actually good at that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They're not good at something, and they're feeling like they're imposter, but they're just not good.
But I mean, I work with a lot of clients who have imposter syndrome, and this is something we work through. Literally a session last night. She works in AI, doing incredible things, but she's quite new in her career. And so, for example, and she's doing very well, but she doesn't believe that she is. And obviously we delved into the reasons why and all that. But then I asked her to give feedback. Tell me what's the feedback that you've been given? And actually it's been amazing feedback from everyone. Like, she's doing really well. But imposter syndrome is about you. And by the way, imposter syndrome is actually more prevalent in high achievers. So it's more of a high achiever thing, where people are doing very well. They almost have this kind of chip on the shoulder, where they feel like someone's going to recognize that they shouldn't be there. And the feeling that I'm not good enough, I shouldn't be, how did I get here? This is what imposter syndrome is about. So it's not necessarily, I think a lot of them are like doing brilliantly. They're fab at what they do, but they're just failing to recognize that themselves. And it's about confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah.
So it's starting to have those conversations and delve into recognizing why you're there. I mean, I had massive imposter syndrome. I think I probably still get it at times. I mean, even coming to the UAE and starting from scratch, I didn't have a network here, built my network, sort of working with my dream clients, building my brand. And I would constantly ask myself, like, how did this happen? Like, charging what I do, all these things. I was like, I constantly
someone paid me to talk. What?
Honestly, I would just go through this all the time. I was like, I don't understand like how it's happened, or it's an accident, and I didn't recognize. I just thought it was like a fluke, or like I got lucky. And then I had to constantly, I still do at times, have to look back at how hard I worked.
Yeah.
And how I would do things that no one would want to do. Like, seriously, I would sit there DMing people, like 200 people a day on Instagram, until Instagram stopped me from DMing people. Like, block my messages. I did things that no one would want to do.
Yeah.
That's like what enabled me then to get to like the sort of the place, right? And I had to, but I didn't recognize it for a long time. I was like, how? I'm a fraud. I'm this. I'm, people are better than me at what I do. And yet I'm, here and working with these people and doing these things. How are people just wanting to work with me? I don't understand, So I'd like to think I'm not terrible at what I do. Let's hope not. But yeah, so I think it's something you need to sort of work on actively.
I think, the last time that I tried to work, that really helped. So I was doing CBT and I was going through my usual spiel of these kind of things, imposter syndrome and things not going well. And she asked me that one question, which is kind of bad for her business, because she asked like one question that was 100 therapy sessions in one. And she said, do you have any proof of that? So when I was feeling these things about myself not being good enough and not being at the level of success that I need to be for my age, she just asked that one question. Do you have proof of that?
Yeah.
And I've trained Alina to ask me that question every time that I'm going through a bit of a sulk, and she has it on cue. I tell her things and she just looks at me and she said, do you have any proof of that? And if I can't find proof, it just automatically turns me back on. Like the imposter syndrome gets killed almost immediately. The trouble I have is when I do have proof. But that is a good indication to not waste my time on something anymore. So I'm just hoping to use that imposter syndrome feeling to do that gut check and do the proof check of, is this a real feeling or is this a made up monster under the bed?
Yeah. And also to add to the age thing as well, I think that is definitely a factor. I know it's something that like I went through, because I was like, in my 20s coaching people, and I was like, people are not going to take me seriously. What experience does she have? But then I had to realize that I was working with women who were like 40, 50. I had women who were like 45, 50 saying to me, I want to work with you because of your energy and that you're, very like kind of fun, you have energy, whatever. I resonate more with you than women my own age, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, if I can, I work with mums. I'm not a mum, but you don't need to be those things. If you can be good as a coach, and I had to tell myself, I can help them. I don't need to be like, and I was coached through this as well. Why do I feel like I need to be at a certain age to be like, okay, now I'm equipped to help these people? Why? Well, where did that number come from? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just a number I gave to myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of dumb and being like, no, it's okay. It can happen now,
Of course it can. Look at you. You're doing it.
Well, still have to go through the thing, and so are you.
Call me, I'll remind you. Look at all the things you've done. I'll just yell it back at you. It's like, yeah, sorry, I remember now. Are you up for a rapid fire?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, first one's easy one. Ice cream or gelato?
Ice cream.
That was easy. This one's not that easy. Exciting flexibility that leads to volatile results, or boring consistency that leads to sure results?
No, exciting. Definitely exciting, yeah.
All right. Okay. Spa day or shopping?
Spa day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
If you weren't living in Dubai or London, where would you be?
Oh, I think somewhere else in Europe, probably. Actually, I do love Europe.
Anywhere in particular?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Or Bali, which is so different.
Just came back
I love
from there.
Bali. Really?
Yeah.
I would want to go back to Bali. Don't know if I could like live there for a long time, but definitely temporarily and work from out of Bali.
We'll talk offline about our experiences there. Favorite TV show, Netflix show of all time, not released this year?
Not released this year. Okay, this is rapid, right? First one that comes to my head as a go-to is Friends, because it's always funny.
Always a staple. We talked about books already. So if you were to stop working as a coach, in the minute possibility that you would, what would you be doing instead?
What would I be doing instead? Can I say it would be around still like, still having an impact, like around like training and education, probably working with like young women and girls somewhere, something in the. Is it the same thing?
It's too similar.
No.
It's too similar.
Gosh. Imagine being like a data analyst. No, definitely not. God. I don't know, maybe something super different. Let's say open my own spa. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. That'd be cool. Yeah.
Put that on the vision board. Just right next to it as a backup plan. There's a spa.
In Bali.
Ooh,
Yeah,
no, you won't
I know, of course.
Much.
Yeah.
Had daily massages. That's how cheap it was.
Yeah, they're so cheap there, and ones as well.
Okay, last one. Big company. Are you building a big company, or are you building a small company?
Small company. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same for us. We shock our clients when we tell them like,
Yeah.
we're not taking on more clients. Like, why?
Yeah.
We're gonna give you all this money. It's like, yeah, because we're at our capacity.
Yeah.
We're okay here.
Exactly.
It's fine. Trying to shake that hustle off,
Yeah, definitely. It comes with a lot more responsibilities, a lot more stress, having so much more employees. And I kind of like this flow. So yeah. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Awesome. Aliya, thank you so much. You have seen me go through so many notes and so many questions and concerns that I've been having. A lot of that has been cleared up. And I think I stole a free coaching session from you. But thanks.
My pleasure.
Thanks for all this. This is like the
if we had a
longest
real
discovery
session, you
call
would have
you
actually
had.
cried. So it wasn't a real session.
What?
So.
You haven't made me cry. Okay, next time we get together.
A real session.
Yeah, we need to have a real one. One with tears. I'm going to have one chapter 3 called Tears. I'm going to do that. But I wanted to ask you if you had a message for the audience that you want to give. It can only fit on a billboard on Sheikh Zayed Road.
Yeah.
It could be a phrase, but enough to catch someone's attention.
Yeah.
What would that be?
Oh my God, it's funny because you said Sheikh Zayed Road, literally on a road. That's really funny, the irony. It would actually be stay in your lane. So yeah, that's funny. And I said it before you said Sheikh Zayed Road, I thought of it. So stay in your own lane, right? It can be so easy to like compare yourself to other people, especially on social media now, like so much noise. People who are ahead of you, but just stay focused. Look at them for inspiration, motivation, even to learn from them. But don't look at people and think, I'll never be there. They're so much better than me, and disempower yourself. So learn from people who are ahead of you, but don't compare yourself in a way that's going to, bring you down. So stay in your own lane, literally and figuratively.
Stay in your own lane. I love it. I love it so much. And lastly, where can people find you if they're looking for you online? Yeah,
I'd say, hang out on Instagram a lot. So you can come find me there, coach_Aliya. On there as well, you can see all the links to my other kind of social pages as well, and sign up to my mailing list. I send out weekly, tips and tools there as well.
Ooh,
so come find me there. Every Monday, Motivation Monday.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
I hope we can do a round 2.
Yeah, it'd be great.
And I'll ask you about your vision board then and see what's changed.
Great.
Is there a spa in there? Thanks so much again.
Thank you so much, Naeem. Thank you.